Hello, everybody. Welcome again to Ivy English. I'm Bruce.
I'm Angela.
And I'm Wesley.
Today, May 12th, we have an article called Works from 1925 Enter Public Domain. And we'll be explaining some of these terms, especially public domain, in the lesson itself.
好，我们这篇文章的中文标题是数千作品成公共财，将掀改编热潮。
Okay, please listen carefully now. When the clock struck midnight on January 1st, 2021, thousands of works from 1925 entered the public domain in the U.S. Among the stories, songs, and films whose copyright expired were classics such as F. Scott Fitzgerald's The Great Gatsby and Virginia Woolf's Mrs. Dalloway. The entry of these works into the public domain means that they are free to use and adapt. This doesn't mean you can walk into a bookstore and walk out with a book without paying. However, if you have a copy of The Great Gatsby, you can now upload it online and offer it to all your friends. Or, more likely, you can more readily get these works from libraries or buy the books at cheaper prices. And now, if anyone wants to use a clip of a film or a song from 1925, they can do so without having to obtain permission or buy certain rights. The free public access to works of art, which become available each January 1st, led to the day becoming known as Public Domain Day. Various organizations, such as Project Gutenberg, which works to preserve cultural works in digital form, strive to make these public works available to everyone. Their efforts also help archive works that would otherwise be lost or forgotten. Additionally, writers and creators are able to breathe life into the stories, films, and songs when they enter the public domain. While it took The Great Gatsby 95 years to make it into the public domain, copyright laws weren't always so lengthy. In fact, at one time, the duration of copyright in the U.S. was a mere 14 years, with the option of a single 14-year extension.
Copyright is basically about money.
Sure.
Exactly.
And so in 1978, they made an extension. It used to be 75 years, and then in 1978, they made it 95 years, and that was Disney, just to name names.
啊，所以呢，原本的这个所谓的版权呢是75年啊，时限是75年。但是在1978年的时候呢，迪士尼把它延长到95年。那版权其实基本上是跟这个收入有关，跟钱有关啊。而且其实我一直觉得很有趣的，就是你如果读以前的历史啊，就是在这个17世纪的时候，至少在17世纪的时候，英国如果出了什么书，美国马上就出了，那都是没有版权的。好，所以呢，当时大家都觉得没有版权没关系啊，这个可以促进交流啊，让大家可以有书可以读啊。可是后来大家发现，这个版权跟钱有关的时候呢，慢慢的就是我以前可以做，但是现在你们不能做了啊，所以不可以了啊。所以大家注意了，版权有这样的一个有趣的事实存在。
So our article begins by saying, when the clock struck midnight. We talk about the clock striking midnight because at that time, literally, there was a bell inside the clock and a hammer would strike it to make the sound, bong, bong, and it would strike it 12 times to let you know that midnight happened. So when the clock turned into midnight on January 1st, 2021, suddenly, bam, thousands of works from 1925 entered the public domain in the U.S., which means they're cheaper and more available to everybody.
所以呢，我们可以看到说，当这个 the clock struck midnight， 就是午夜钟声响起或者午夜钟声敲响的意思这个钟敲到午夜的这个钟声的时候呢，这是在2021年的1月1号午夜钟声响起的时候 ，thousands of works 有数千个作品从1925年，就是1925年出版的数千件作品呢 ，entered the public domain 就成为了公共财产。 in the US 在美国就成为公共财产。好，那这个 the public domain 我们这个通常叫做公共财。好，那其实它字面上的意思就是公共的领域。好 domain 是一个领域。那所谓成为进入公共领域成为公共财的意思就是说，你如果要用它，你要去这个复制它，你不需要再付版权费的，它是成为公共的财产，是这个意思。好，所以这个成为 public domain entered the public domain 一样，还是跟版权这个钱有关系。
Among the stories, songs, and films whose copyright expired were classics such as F. Scott Fitzgerald's The Great Gatsby and Virginia Woolf's Mrs. Dalloway. So the copyright expired. That's really what happened on January 1st and happens on every January 1st, 95 years after something has been published. And it's not just books.You have songs, you have films, anything that had a copyright no longer does if it is 95 years since it was copyrighted.
好 expired 就是过期哈，那这个 EX 是 out 嘛哈，那个 PIR 或者 SPIR 呢，它是 breathe 呼吸的意思，所以就是最后可去吐出来了，它已经过期了，已经没有了，已经terminate come to an end 的意思哈，所以他说在这么多故事啊、歌啊，还有电影啊，这些东西都是有版权的哈。那就是目前就他这里讲，就进入公共财啊，就成为公共财的这些书啊、这些故事啊、歌曲啊、电影啊等等里面呢，其中之一包括什么呢 ？Were classics 有一些经典的作品，例如说菲茨杰罗的这个《大亨小传》还有这个 Virginia Woolf 他的这个他的达洛维夫人这两个都是很有名的经典作品。
So the entry of these works into the public domain means they are free to use and adapt. What does it mean that they are entering the public domain? Originally, they were in basically the secret vault of copyright law. It meant that you couldn't use it without getting permission from the people who owned it. But now that they have come into the public domain, they come into public use.That means that now anybody can use and adapt the text. You can use the text, you can quote it, you can turn it into a story, you can use it in your fan fiction, and nobody can tell you no.
好，所以呢，这一句话的主词就是 the entry of these works into the public domain， 这是整个句子的主词。所以这些作品成为公共财，意思是什么呢 ？Means 它的意思就是说 they are free to use， 你可以免费的使用它们。而且你可以免费的 adapt 就是改编adapt 就是改编，就是 to make suitable to make suitable to or fit for a specific purpose 所以我们常常讲 adapt the novel into a movie， 把小说改编成为电影。那这个字要小心，就很多人会把 adapt 跟 adopt 搞不清楚那 adopt那个是收养或者采取的意思，那其实你从字根去学就很容易学会这两个字的区别。那 adapt 那个 apt 那个 apt 就是 fit 的意思，那 ad 是 to， 所以 adapt 就是 to fit就是你要改编就让它合适嘛，那 adapt。那 adopt 那个 opt 就是选择 option所以 adopt 就是你要去选择一下，因为你要收养，你要采取，你要选择一下嘛，所以改编跟选择是没有关系的。那你这样从字根去学的话，这两个字非常清楚 ，adapt 是改编 ，adopt 是采取或者收养的意思。
This doesn't mean you can walk into a bookstore and walk out with a book without paying. Let's not get carried away here. It's the different public domain means the public can use it freely. It's different from what we call private property, which is what copywriting is all about. The books in the bookstore are produced even if the stories are 95 years old. Somebody had to make that book, and that's why you have to pay for it.
好，所以呢，这个它成为公共财，不是说你可以去书店里面随便抓的就可以跑了这个只是说你要用，你要改编，你要这个印刷这些东西是不用钱的，但是如果你要去书店里面，你还是要付钱买的。所以 this doesn't mean 这不表示说你可以 walk into a bookstore， 你可以走到一个书店里面去，然后 walk out with 然后walk out with 走出来，身上就带着一本书，然后 without paying 不付钱，这样不对，它不是这个意思。
However, what you can do, if you have a copy of The Great Gatsby, a physical or digital copy, you can now upload it online. You can put it up onto the internet and offer it to all your friends or all of the world.
好，虽然你不能说书店里面拿了一本就走了，好，但是呢，如果你有一本大亨小传，那你可以怎么样？你可以 upload， 就是上传，好，把它在网络上面上传，好，然后呢 offer it to， 把它提供给 all your friends， 你可以提供给所有的朋友，因为它已经没有版权了。
Or, more likely, you can more readily get these works from libraries or buy the books at cheaper prices. You don't have to go through all the trouble. If it's trouble for you, it certainly would be for me, to put something online and spread it out to all your friends. But it does mean you can go to the library because in the public domain, the libraries can buy one book and offer it to anybody to read. Or you can buy the books at cheaper prices because nobody has to pay the copyright charge anymore.
好，那所以要么你就可以上传，或者是 more likely， 或更可能的情况是你可以怎么样 more readily get these works from libraries. 好 readily 就是 without difficulty， 好 easily or quickly， 你可以更容易的 get these works from libraries， 就是从图书馆里面借出这些书，你可以这个 check out 啊这些书 from libraries， 啊或者是你可以以比较便宜的价钱啊 at cheaper prices， 以便宜一点的价格买这些书啊，因为它现在已经没有版权了，所以这个谁都可以印，那印刷本身不是那么的贵哈，所以你可能可以比较便宜的买到这些书。
And now, if anyone wants to use a clip, a piece, a short length of a film, or a song from 1925, they can do so without having to obtain permission or buy certain rights. So you can literally just go and take a clip from these movies and use it in your artwork or commercial or whatever other thing, and no one again will tell you no.
而且呢，现在呢，如果任何人想要使用a clip 就是一个片段 ，a clip of a film 就是指你要使用一个影片的片段，或者是你想要这个用一首歌是1925年的歌的话呢，你可以这么做 they can do so 而不必 without having to 不必要 obtain permission 获得允许或者是 buy certain rights 或者去买一些某一些的这个权利使用的权利。那事实上不只是这样的，其实我的理解好像现在你在公共场所你要唱歌的话，那个你也要有版权。
Yeah.
你唱不是说播那个原唱者，就是你要唱那首歌在公共场合的话，好像如果没有版权也会被告。
Yes. So now you don't have to pay and you can use these things.
Yeah, 但是如果说它已经进入公共财的话，那就不必了就是你不需要这个，你可以尽量的爱怎么唱怎么唱。Yeah.
It's all about the money.
Next paragraph. The free public access to works of art, which become available each January 1st, led to the day, that's January 1st, becoming known as Public Domain Day, not only as New Year's Day. So free public access to. Again, there's no copyright, so you are free to use it any way you like, no matter what the work of art is, whether it is literature, songs, movies, etc.
Yeah, 所以这个 the free public access to 就是免费的公众的取得access to 就是你可以取得，所以公众可以免费取得这些 works of art 这些艺术作品。好，那注意这个中文跟英文的这个 word order 不一样中文会说这个公共可以免费取得这些艺术作品，但英文是讲 the free public access to works of art 那个 free 是修饰的 access， 所以公众可以免费取得那这些作品呢 which become available 这些艺术作品呢是在1月1号就变成大家可以拿去用become available 大家可以使用。那这样的一件事情呢 led to 就是 caused 导致了 the day 就是1月1号这一天呢 becoming known as 就它被大家称为这个公共领域日这个 led to 这个地方结构大家可以稍微注意一下 led to 的受词是 the day 就是使得这一天，然后呢后面那个 becoming 是分词这个修饰 the day 所以你可以说它是变成了这样的一天，那这一天慢慢被人家 称为公共领域日。
Various organizations such as Project Gutenberg, which works to preserve cultural works in digital form, strive to make these public works available to everyone. Actually, Project Gutenberg's original plan was to have all of the books in the world in there, but they've run into copyright issues. So now they have to limit themselves to public domain. But if you want to find a work in the public domain, Project Gutenberg has it. They're an amazing project, and you can go and find a whole bunch of really obscure books and also a bunch of well-known books.
Yeah, I used to use them a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I use them a lot.
Yeah, 所以这个我很喜欢这个 Project Gutenberg 古腾堡计划，因为里面像这个我以前研究17世纪、18世纪的美国文学，里面很多作品别的地方都找不到，但是你上面全部在上面。
So to do research, that's a really good source.
Yeah, it is 所以这个地方这里有讲到这个所以他说不同的组织例如这个古腾堡计划，它的目的是 works to 它的努力想要怎么样 preserve 要保留 cultural works in digital form 以数位方式保存或者保留这个文化的一些作品那这样的这些 organizations 呢 strive to 就是致力于endeavor to try hard to endeavor 是 ENDEAVOR 他们想要致力于要让这些 public works 这些在公共领域的这些作品呢 available to everyone 他们可以让每一个人都可以取得像这个 Project Gutenberg 其实你 Google 一下马上就进去了，然后上面的那个作品都已经是电子化了，所以你可以看到它的那个电子的那个 text 非常的方便。
Their efforts also help archive works that would otherwise be lost or forgotten. There are the good folks at Project Gutenberg. Their hard work helps archive works that, here archive means to save or to keep over long periods of time that would otherwise be lost or forgotten. Some works are what we call obscure, but they could be useful in the future. Just because they're obscure now does not mean they will be useless in the future.
Yeah, 这个其实我的感受很深，因为我刚开始在当研究生的时候，很多作品因为我研究17、18世纪的东西，很多作品你台湾根本找不到，所以你只有 give up 你没有找不到那些作品。可是后来这个Project Gutenberg 出现之后，突然发现哇，真的是个宝藏你台湾找不到的东西，你上去一找就在那里所以这个真的是很有用的一个东西所以他说他们的努力呢也帮助archive 这个字呢其实原来的意思是归档但在这里可以把它翻译成典藏所以 to preserve这个好像是放在一个 archive 就是一个典藏的这个中心你好呢在那里把它保存起来的意思所以你可以典藏一些作品，这些作品呢 that would otherwise 就是 under other circumstances或者 in different circumstances 如果不是这样做的话，这些东西 would be lost or forgotten 就会遗失了。
An adjective I used we should spell here is obscure, O-B-S-C-U-R-E. O-B-S-C-U-R-E. If something is obscure, it is little known or hardly known at all.
很冷门或者是大家都不知道或者它这个字也可以是模糊的意思不过在这里刚刚 Bruce 老师用的那个就是很冷门大家都不知道的东西。
Additionally, writers and creators are able to breathe life into the stories. They can bring the stories back and make them new again for the modern audience. Not just the stories, but also the films and the songs when they enter the public domain.
Yeah, 这个 breathe life into 这个大家从英文也可以字面上也可以了解，就是把你吹了一口气进去就是赋予它新生命to give new energy或者是 excitement to something 或者是你可以说 to revitalize something 那 that has become dull or stale. Revitalize 就是 R-E-V-I-T-A-L-I-Z-E 重新让它有生命那这个东西本来已经是 dull D-U-L-L就是已经钝掉了，已经没意思了。Stale 的话就是陈腐了 S-T-A-L-E 所以本来已经没什么生气的东西，你吹一口气进去给它新生命的意思。所以 additional 就是此外 in addition 这个 writers 跟 creators 作家还有一些创造者可以赋予这些故事、这些影片、这些电影、这些歌这个当他们进入 public domain 的时候，就可以赋予他们新生命。
All right, our last paragraph. While it took The Great Gatsby 95 years to make it into the public domain, copyright laws weren't always so lengthy. 95 years is rather long. Actually, very few people live that long. The original copyright was aimed at giving people in the arts, they could make money from their own works, and up to 28 years, as we'll find out, maybe their children could also benefit from it. But if it's 95, my God, that's
it's not
historical.
It's not about the artists making money from their own work anymore, which was the original point. It's about corporations making money from their holdings.
所以现在很多时候不是那个作者可以赚多少钱的问题，而是那个公司拥有版权的公司他们可以赚多少钱的问题啊。好，所以呢，这个地方讲到说while 就虽然这个大亨小传花了95年才 make it into 就成功的进入了这个公共财的领域，但是 copyright laws 这个著作权法呢 weren't always so lengthy， 并不是一直都是这么的长，因为95年真的很长。好 ，lengthy 这个字它是长，但是要注意它是通常是 excessively long 或者是 tediously long tedious 是 T-E-D-I O-U-S-L-Y， 就是让你觉得很烦的长。好，所以 lengthy 通常是有这种太长的感觉，或者是 drawn out D-R-A-W-N 一个 hyphen out， 好，拉得很长很长很长，这个叫 lengthy。
In fact, at one time, the duration of copyright in the U.S. was just a very few 14 years, a mere 14 years. And then you had the option of a single 14-year extension. So that was originally meant to benefit the artist, and now it's a different situation.
Yeah. 所以事实上呢 at one time 曾经有一度 the duration 就是the length of time 那所以这个copyright 的期限在美国的期限呢，曾经有一段时间只是14年 a mere， 那个 mere 就是怎么样，就是 being nothing more than 的意思就 being nothing more than what is specified， 就只是没有更多，曾经就只是14年然后呢 with the option of 有这么一个选项option 我们刚刚讲 adopt 那个 OPT那个就是 option， 那个 OPT 就是选择，你有这样的一个选项，可以怎么样？有一个 single 就是 only one in number， 你可以一次的延长，你可以延长一次14年，就是你有14年的这个 copyright 然后呢可以延长一次14年。然后 extension 就是转延或者延期那个 EX 是 out 嘛，那个 TEND 或者 tension 那个 TEN 呢就是 stretch 就是伸展的意思，所以往外伸展叫 extend 这个字根蛮有趣的，因为各位认识呢 intend 就是你有什么企图，你想干嘛， intend 那个 in 是 toward， 所以你往那边伸过去你想要干嘛所以叫 intend。那 pretend 是要假装嘛 pre 是 in front， 所以你伸到前面去这假装一下put forward an excuse， 所以这个顺便可以提一下，这些字都是一家人。
Okay, we have 3 questions for you here. Number 1 is, what do you not learn about The Great Gatsby in the passage?
在本文中你无法了解到大亨小传什么事呢？
What you don't learn is C, how much it is for a copy, because that would also vary.
Yeah, 答案是 C 一本书多少钱？
The second question, what does do so in the second paragraph refer to?
第二段的 do so 所指的是什么呢？
The answer is D, utilize films or songs from 1925.
答案是 D， 使用1925年的影片或歌曲。
And number 3, what does the author indicate or show in the last paragraph of the passage?
作者在本文最后一段表明什么呢？
The answer is B, that copyright periods in the U.S. have become longer over time.
答案是 B 在美国呢，著作权的年限随着时间变得更长。
All right, that's it for today's lesson. We hope you enjoyed it as well as learned from it. Please join us anytime. We are here for you. Until the next time,
Bye-bye.